Hi everyone, it's the 4-Gun Guy, and today we're going to talk about a new scope for my 22 rimfire rifle for competition. It's the Burris XTR Pro, and I purchased this with my own money by selling the Razor Gen 3 that was sitting on top of this rifle. I'm lightening up on my 22 rimfire this year to focus more on the center fire. I tend to just get more enjoyment out of the center fire shooting than I do the rimfire shooting. Not to say I'm not going to keep shooting rimfire, just not as much. So I thought, okay, let's sell the Razor Gen 3 and then use that money, because you know that's what I do. I don't have a bunch of scopes and equipment just laying around. So I sold the Razor Gen 3 and I thought, what could I put on this now that I could do a review on and use in competition? So I ended up with the Burris. And there's a couple reasons behind that. We'll get into those in a little while. But what I wanted to do here was kind of just go through, what's in the box, what comes with this thing. Let's look at the scope specs. And then let's get some initial views out back like I usually do at the telephone poles and at a little bit of a distance. And then we'll go out to the range and see how it looks in real live, like a PRS scenario. And then we'll have some final thoughts. So if you're ready to go, let's get to it. Let's talk about what comes in the box, right? So of course you get the scope. We've got some flip up caps here, scope covers, which are really nice, lens cloth and all that. We've got the sunshade for the scope. We have a throw lever, which comes with it, which is nice. We've got another turret, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but this thing actually has 3 turrets that you could use for the elevation. So we're going to talk about those, but it's a really simple, unboxing. So let's get to the actual functionality and some things that I like, some things that I wish they had done a little differently. Let's talk about the functionality here. Now, this is mounted on the rifle, so it's kind of a pain in the neck to manage. This rifle weighs 22 pounds. But again, flip up caps, turrets. I'm going to come back to the elevation turrets last here because of some things we're going to talk about. It does have illumination. It actually has 2 different colors of illumination, so I can use red or green. It does have off in between illumination settings, which is nice. The parallax adjustment is very smooth, very smooth. It's a little small, so I may get a parallax wheel for this thing and put it on there. But as far as actual adjustability goes, and I don't adjust parallax that much during a stage anyway. I set it at the beginning of the stage when I'm searching for the targets and whatnot before the stage begins, before I'm shooting it, and then I generally don't have to mess with it. One thing I do want to look at though when we get out there is, for example, in PRS, now this is mounted on a 22, so on a 22 I want to see if I have a 100-yard target and a 250-yard target, am I going to have to mess around with the parallax between those targets? Or is this kind of like a Zico to where I didn't really have to mess with much at all? And I know you're going to say, well, that's the difference between a $2,000 scope and a $5,000 scope. I understand that, but hopefully they've built some of that into it. The windage turret is not open, right? So it's got a cover on it. Now, you may look at that and go, well, what the heck good is that for me then? When I'm running this in a match, this will just be off. Again, it's got a nice, easy clickable. I do like the clicks on this windage turret. They're very tactile. So if I need to go up 1, 2, I'm up 1, 2. Maybe you can hear them. Hold on. Very tactile. So I'm good with that. I've never gotten hung up on whether it's capped windage or not capped windage. I'm going to run with it off anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. As long as the turret itself is functional and tactile, that's all I care about. Now, let's talk about the back end of this thing. As far as the zoom goes, the magnification goes, this is really, really smooth. I love the smoothness of the magnification ring. I haven't put on the throw lever yet, but I think that's going to be a great addition when I do. The other thing I like is from an ocular standpoint. So this is something the Zico has that I really like. It's got a locking ocular. So once I set this focus back here, I can lock it down and I'm not worried about bumping it or doing something with it as I shoot or in between stages. So I really like that aspect of it. I've got this mounted in a spur mount, which I'm just a spur guy, so that's what it's mounted in. And now let's get to the main conversation piece of this scope, and that's these turrets. Now, I can pop these turrets off just like this, just like this. So I've got the white turret, I've got the dark turret that I put somewhere here. Don't know where I put it now. There it is, it's in the box. It's got these two turrets. Plus, I could just leave these off here, I guess, if I wanted to, and just run this central turret if I wanted to do that. The zeroing on here is very easy. It is literally toolless. It's got a little lever in here. I'm not going to go through it on this video, but I would just want to talk to it. It's got a lever that you can open up, lift this up, make the adjustments that you need to make, or make your adjustments, then lift it up, push this down, and then you can put whichever turret you want to on this thing. Now I want to talk about what I think is really cool and what they were thinking about. And then I want to talk about what were they thinking about. So here we go. This is the black turret, right? Let's see if I can get a focus on here. Okay. And I really, really like this thing. See how big the numbers are? I love how all the tenth of the mils come up to a peak at 1/2 mil and then go back down. This is an excellent, excellent turret. Then they gave you this. This is an excellent concept for a turret. And what it is I can write on this white portion. This is like a whiteboard. So it's very writable, which I've really started to do. I've started to put dots where my targets are on the stage. And that way, when I'm looking through my scope and I have to come up and change, I just go to the next dot or back to the other dot. This has worked really well for me. Here's my gripe. Can you read those numbers on there? Can you read the numbers on here? Yeah. My question is, why didn't you just put big black numbers on this one like you have big white numbers on this one? Right? Because I don't need to write a novel up here. All I need are big enough numbers that I can see what I'm dialing to. So again, it's a great concept, but to me, it's just not executed properly. And that's just my opinion of it. Let's go ahead and look at the specs of this thing now. Here we go. Bushnell XTR Pro 5.55 to 30 by 56. The other thing I want to mention here is that this does go up to 30 power. So that's awesome, right? If you're out there practicing and you want to actually see where you're hitting targets, this is going to be especially handy in the 22 stuff that I'm going to shoot, because when I'm out there by myself, sometimes I just can't see very well at a 25 power, so it'll be nice to have the 30 power. Warranty, forever warranty on workmanship. Glass is Japanese glass, 15.2 inches, 35.3 ounces, so it's a little on the heavy side, but it's not too heavy. It's about in that medium zone there. 34 millimeter tube diameter with a 56 objective, great. The scope does come with different reticle options, not in each scope, but you can choose scopes with different reticles. Field of view is very good. The eye relief is really good. I've looked at that. We talked about the ReZero mechanism, does have illumination, 26 mrad of elevation, 15 of wind, 10th adjustments, and 20 yards of parallax, which is great. So on my 22 rifle, this is a great option for me with 20 yards of parallax. Black with red finish, waterproof, throw lever, yes, sunshade, and the lens covers. Now, let's go down to this reticle. I'll put this image up here as well. Love the reticle. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I'm a huge 1/2 mil mark on the windage guy, right? This does not have a 1/2 mil mark on the windage, but they've done something that I'm okay with. They've made the 2/10 or the 4/10 and the 6/10 marks higher. So my eye can still quickly go to that area on the scope and realize in between those two is a 1/2 mil. So I'm perfectly fine with that. The center here is not a dot, it's a little cross. And unless you're zoomed way, way in, you don't really realize it's a cross. So I've heard some people say, oh, it's a cross, it should be a dot. It doesn't interfere that much with targets at all. We'll see out on the 22 range if it does. But I also like the tree markings here. So I like the fact that, for example, just below the windage there, they have 2 tree markings at one on either the left or right windage down below it. I like that 1/2 mil indicator there. So you could conceivably bracket a target if you had to hold a 1/2 mil and a 1/2 mil, let's say. You could do that. And then down at the 1 and the 2 mil marks, I think they're great on the elevation down there. I think it's great. The other thing, and I mentioned this, or I'm going to mention it on another scope that I'm doing a review on, and that scope is a 1/5 of the price of this scope. But on the windage axis, they start the numbering at 2. They don't start at 4. Some of these scopes out there are starting at 4. It's driving me nuts because now I'm having to hunt the 1, 2, or 3 mil marking. So I like the fact that they start this at 2, and it's just not a busy reticle. So I really, really like that. All right, with that said, let's get out to the backyard. Let's hook this thing up to the scope mate or the trigger cam, whichever one I decide I'm going to use, and we'll get some looks down range. All right, guys. Well, my trigger cam volume was low, so I'm just doing this by memory here. But this, I believe, is about 15 power at 50 yards. So this is right behind the house. And this is really, really clear. I really like the clarity of this glass. Now, of course, the trigger cam isn't going to do this justice. But now I'm zoomed into, I believe, about 25 power and very clear. You can really see that reticle now. Clearly, you can see the center cross, so you do see that it's not a dot. And I do like those 1/2 mil, the 0.4 and 0.6 mil markings. You know, to me, it's fine. If I need to hold a 1/2 mil of wind on a target, I'm going to put the target right in between those two, and I should be just fine. All right, well, here we are at about 100 yards, and I believe this again is right at 15 to 18 power. You're not going to get everything out of this glass that I'm seeing here, but very clear. I'm zooming in here, but I can't hold this thing steady enough, so let's do this. Let's get out to the range. And let's get some good shots downrange where I can really get this rifle stabilized. Okay, well, we're here at the range. It is hot today, and I've got the Burris XTR Pro set up. We're going to shoot at the car, which is about 134 yards away. And let's just see what this looks like. So I'm going to start the trigger cam. There we go. And we should be down on it. And look, let's just start real quickly by saying I do like this reticle. I like how unintrusive it is. I like the fact that it kind of just stays out of the way. I haven't even tried the illumination here, but if I did, that's kind of red. I don't know that I like the red. Let's go to green. That's green. I actually kind of like that. But anyway, let's turn that off. So let's see, if I was in a match, I'd have this set at about 18 to 20 power. I'm trying to run a little higher magnification now. Let's make sure I got my parallax set, which it looks pretty good right there. And let's see what we got here. Impact. Miss. A little wind here. Impact. Swing to the window. Nope. Impact. 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 Yeah, so if I were to zoom way in here, you can really see, let me just steady it up, you can really see that center cross. You can see the markings really nicely. See that 1/2 mil where the two are up there, right in the center of it. Impact. And then if I came out to about, let's come out to about 16, that's about 15 power. That's not a bad shot picture there, sight picture. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I did put this tape up here on the turret, just a very thin thing of white tape that I got on Amazon, so I can still see the numbers, but I could still just put a dot where I need to dial to. Other than that, wow, I really like this. I like the smoothness of the throw lever, or of the zoom magnification. The uncovered turret, as I said, doesn't bother me a bit. I zeroed it in, so it's looking pretty good. So let's get back to the shop for some final thoughts. Well, like final thoughts on the Burris XTR Pro. I like this scope. I don't love it, but I like it. I like the elevation turret, the parallax. They're very tactile. I do like the fact that you have multiple caps that you can put on this. So that white cap, let's do pros and cons at the same time. Pros, I like that feature. The zeroing of this scope is a little more, that they say it's easy. It's not that easy. I like the Razor Gen 3 zeroing, even the $400 Discovery scope that I just did a review on, or am releasing a review. I'm not sure what the order will be on these, but it's even easier than this. And the reason is, you pull this off, you've got this clip that you have to open up with a screwdriver or something like that, because it's on so tight. And then you never really know if you've got it up and unengaged or what you have. So to me, I think they could have done a better job on that. That white turret that we talked about, the fact that it has, this turret's beautiful, it has big numbers, but the white one has these little bitty numbers, so you could write a novel on it for your stage, which I don't need. So I wish they had done the white turret with the large black numbers. It would have been perfect, and I wouldn't have had to put a little strip of white tape here for me to mark this turret. So again, it's another one of those things that I have to fix the thing that you didn't think about, right? So I'm going off a little bit on that. Everything else about this scope I really do like. I like the glass is very clear. I do like the reticle. I wasn't sure I was going to like that reticle, but I do like it a lot. I shot it a lot more the other day when I was out at the range, and I really got used to it. The windage turret, again, it's capped. I wish this wasn't capped. And I'm going to go back and say something I said earlier. If you are building something for us PRS shooters and you're calling it a PRS style scope, then make it a PRS style scope, right? This should not have capped turrets on it, right? It should have a turret that's very similar to this elevation turret and this size of turret. Just like that, again, I'm going to go back to it. That $400 Discovery scope had big turret up here, a big turret over here. It had a larger parallax dial on it, so you could easily get to it. And I just look at these, and sometimes I think, I don't know who designed this thing, but they didn't talk to anybody who shoots PRS. They just said, let's take an old scope, let's update it, let's still leave a cap turret on here on the windage, and we'll just call it PRS or whatever it is. And I know this isn't called PRS XTR Pro, but they're building these for PRS competition. That's what this is built for. Price-wise, $2,000. I think you can get it on sites for $1,700, $1,800. I would really put this down as a $1,500, $1,400 scope, and now it's down into a region that has some pretty stiff competition from people like Athlon and so forth. So in the end, I'm keeping it. I'm not going to get rid of it because it's on the 22. I'm not shooting that much 22 right now, so I'm happy with it on here. Good scope. As I said, I like it. Don't love it. It's not blowing my socks off. And I wish it was just a little bit cheaper. So there you have it. I did spend my own money on this, so I'm into it. Sunk cost. But yeah, I'll keep it. Well, hey, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this was helpful. Hope it gave you some things to think about and look at if you are just getting into PRS, and some things maybe not to look for in a scope, especially if you're starting out. Some of this stuff's going to confuse you with a cap turret, and then you've got the little numbers and you're not sure how you're going to handle wind just yet. So this might not be the scope for you if you're just starting out. Thanks for watching. Subs, likes, comments, everything else. I really do appreciate it. I did build playlists down below so you can go quickly to optics, rifles, PRS practice sessions, and all the categories that I have, so you don't have to wade through 190 some videos of mine. I appreciate it, guys, and until next time, shoot straight.